What's going on, guys? Your boy, Coach Anthony. Okay, and today's video is 5 myth busters that you're gonna hear in boxing. So, what is a myth buster? It's basically something that you hear trainers say or people say all the time that isn't necessarily true. Okay, it's like a myth. And we're gonna get into all of them, okay? And the last one, the fifth one, is a very important one, so make sure you stick to the end of the video so you can go ahead and watch that. But before we get started, I need you to like, comment, subscribe, share the channel, turn the notifications on, join the live Q&As that I'm doing a lot of now. My channel has transferred to a lot of live Q&As where I actually talk to you guys live, okay, and actually answer your questions right there. And we have great dialogue, and it's a lot of fun. So guys, get to the live Q&As, and also be ready for the CA boxing community, because we're going to do a lot of those live Q&As on the CA boxing community, and you get enrolled absolutely free every time you purchase something off my website. And right now the catalog on my website is amazing. We have bundles, and in the bundles they're already discounted, so if you get more than one course at a time, you're going to get it at a discount. And then on top of that, you're actually going to get another percentage, whatever deal I got going on at the moment. You're going to get a percentage off on top of the already marked down bundle price if you get more than one course. And you're going to get free enrollment to the CA boxing community. It's a no-brainer, guys. I hope you guys take advantage of that, because I want to see you guys there. All right. So myth buster number 1. You always got to keep your hands up. And this is one that's really funny, because you hear almost everybody say that. Keep your hands up. Keep your damn hands up. You're dropping your hands. Oh no, blah, blah, blah. What are we going to do? All right. And we have to understand, yes, it's important to keep your hands up when needed, but there's going to be times that your hand's going to be a little bit lower. Some of the best fighters in history fought with the lead hand a little bit low. Okay, now I talked about in the past that I like a hybrid, right? Which is a little bit of a hand high, Philly shell. I like it somewhere in front of the chest, okay? And I like it somewhere around here nowadays. There was a time where I always boxed like this, okay? But now I keep it somewhere here because I do like to incorporate the shoulder roll, okay? I do still block punches with the lead glove, okay? I do like to play with that lead hand and keep it nice and relaxed, so I can go ahead and set up check hooks and up jabs and different things of that nature. Okay, so it's very important that you understand that, yes, you have to keep your hands up, but not at all times. As soon as you drop your hands, oh no, you dropped your hands, oh no, pick up. Relax. Now, disclaimer for the beginners: you do need to keep your hands up because you're still a beginner. And I tell people all the time, you don't want to try black belt stuff when you're still a white belt, right? So that's something to keep in mind, all right? And as we continue on our journey and in the CA boxing community and all that, we're going to dive more into that type of stuff, okay? So it's very important that we understand the levels and you understand what level you're at with your boxing journey. Myth number 2 is going to be bouncing off myth number 1. And it's something that I'm starting to see a trend on Instagram, is that keeping your lead hand up is a bad thing. You're getting more and more trainers now that are teaching, to keep the lead hand low, the shoulder roll, rolling under shots and all that. And it's beautiful. I teach it. I got the Philly shell system. I've been teaching it for a long time. People have been coming to me for years to learn how to fight with the lead hand low. And I teach it. It works. But disclaimer that these trainers aren't keeping, in mind when they're teaching this. When you tell a guy that keeping the hands up is bad, that's one of the worst things you could say, because keeping the lead hand up is very important. It goes back to the same ideology that sometimes your lead hand's going to be low, sometimes your lead hand's going to be high. All right, so if you're a guy who likes to fight, quote unquote, out of the Philly shell with the lead hand a little bit low at all times, you're setting up a recipe for disaster. Floyd Mayweather got clipped with the right hand. What's the first thing Floyd Mayweather did? That hand came up. He fought like Winky Wright, literally, until he got his composure. Okay, there's been times where you see the hand moves, right? Sometimes your hand is here, sometimes it's here. Okay, so it just depends on the situation and what we're setting up. I understand that some of you guys feel more comfortable with the lead hand low, but if you never pick it up, it's only a matter of time until you get clipped with something. So you have to make sure that your hand doesn't always stay low and that it doesn't always stay high. And that's why I like that hybrid stance where you could do both, okay? Keeping it here at all times is a recipe for disaster at some point, and keeping it here at some time is a recipe to disaster at some point. Now, to be a devil's advocate to what I just said 2 seconds ago, this is why boxing teaching, there's so many variables, is that even though I just said is a recipe for disaster at all times, recipe for disaster at all times, for some guys, and this is anomaly situations, okay? When I say anomaly, I mean rare. It is better for them to stay here 99.9% of the time. Some guys, it is better for them to stay here 99.9% of the times. Okay, so I do understand that there are case by cases, but don't label yourself that case until you have many, many rounds and a lot of data of proof that you can't box out of these other positions at all, because you might be able to, and you might be limiting yourself because you haven't been taught another way. Myth buster number 3. You need to run every day to get in top shape. That's another one that couldn't be further from the truth. You know, I actually did a Q&A on one of my lives with Fast Eddie Chambers and King Mo. He was actually my last episode, and we talked about running. And this is not the first time we talked about running, but they'll tell you that running every day was something that they didn't do, and they would still perform very well. Now, don't get me wrong. You have to run. I'm a big advocate of old school running if you have no injuries, right? That's the first one. If your knees are good, you have no injuries, and you like it, great. By all means, do your runs. But you don't need to run every day. Remember, we're getting prepared for boxing, whether it's amateur or professional boxing. And that doesn't, and you, what that means is we're not getting ready for marathons, right? We're not. We want to get our heart rate elevated to the highest level, drop it, elevated, drop it, elevated, okay? And a lot of that can be done in the gym through sparring, heavy bag, strength and conditioning exercises that we do that are boxing specific, sprinting, okay, that's very important for amateurs and professional fighters, and of course, a few 3-mile runs, maybe 4-mile runs in the week is okay. You know what I mean? So I'll go ahead and give you guys another video in the future where we talk about a running program, a running regimen, right? But for the most part, you don't need to run every day. Okay, you can run one day, next day you can not run. You can actually rest and then come back, run the next day, rest, run the next day, rest. Running every day is okay for a certain amount of time, but then at some point you're going to start to feel it in your knees and you may have some injuries. There's other alternatives to running. So I'm not going to say don't run, but I'm going to say be open-minded to switching it up, because if you switch it up, it'll benefit you in the long run. Myth buster number 4. Hard sparring is the only way that you're going to build toughness. Now, this is another one that we're going to need to talk about the variables and disclaimers, but there's pros and cons to everything in life. And I'm going to say that this is a myth, because you don't need to spar hard every single day in order to get tougher. You have a lot of people who believe that, a lot of trainers. And look, I'm in the Northeast, okay? So I'm in the greater Philadelphia area. You got New York City right next door, New Jersey. You know, the way of life up here for boxing is a culture, and the culture here is very hardcore. If you go to Philadelphia, it's a hardcore culture. If you go to New York City, North New Jersey, different places of this nature, you're going to get some hardcore guys. And big shout out to all the coaches and all the fighters in the Northeast region of this boxing thing that we got going on over here. But a lot of trainers from up here will tell you some of the best fighters from Philadelphia left it in the gym. And why did they leave in the gym? Hard sparring, that old school mentality of, oh, we got to go hard every single day. Hard sparring every day. Think about the trauma that you're taking to your head. Think about the trauma that you're taking to your body. You have to think about self-preservation. There are other ways to get tough. You can condition yourself in the gym. That's one way. Get your ass in really good shape. You got to go through a lot of things to get your body in the top peak physical condition. that's going to eventually make you tougher. Okay, now sparring, competition will get you tougher. A good coach who's going to stay on you and talk to you. A lot of people underestimate the value of having a coach who's going to speak to you and explain to you things and teach you how to deal with fear, teach you how to deal with tough situations. And then in the sparring, if it's controlled the right way, it doesn't have to be an all-out brawl all the time. Now, disclaimer, I believe in competitive sparring. I believe in real sparring. I believe in mixing it up. I believe some days we might go lighter, and I believe some days we might go harder. Okay? And on the days that we're going harder is evenly matched competitive sparring. It's not going to be one guy beating the other guy down to a pulp to the point where he cannot even deal with it at all, and all he's getting is beat the hell up. That's a quick way to get a guy to quit. There's an old saying that they say, man, be careful how much you train a fighter, he'll get burnt out. But then I met somebody who made a really good point to me. The only people who get burnt out in boxing are the unsuccessful. Because when you're doing really good in boxing, it's really hard to get burnt out because you're actually looking forward to your training every day. Think about anything you've ever been good at in life. If you're good at it, you look forward to doing it the next day. But if you're not good at something, there's only so many times you're going to do something before you're like, forget it. I'm going to do something else. This ain't for me. I'm not good at it, right? So imagine coming to the gym and having these hard spars every day where you're dealing with pain, headaches, rib bruising, and you're discouraged because you're constantly getting beat the hell out of. Easy recipe to get a guy to never show up to the gym. So hard sparring to me is a myth in order to become tougher. For me, boosting the confidence will make a guy tougher. How do you boost the guy's confidence? Through building him the right way and getting him prepared for the hard sparring. So yes, do we spar hard? Yes, but we prepare you through different training regimens, mental regimens, getting him prepared by evenly matching him, making him the better fighter sometimes so he or her, so she can go ahead and build the confidence to bring that to the next spar. Okay, so it's a process that goes like this, but eventually the goal is to get here, and you can't do it if you're constantly beating a guy down to a pulp. So number 4, hard sparring is the only way to make you tough. That's a myth. Okay, and the last tip, the one that I said could be the most important myth out of all the myth busters here for boxing is you either got it or you don't. That's another thing I don't believe. I believe that if you take anybody and drill them and they're willing to put in the work and the effort, that they can get good at this. Now, people may argue with me. People may say that's not true. Either you got it or you don't. Well, either you got it or you don't to me is half true. Because either you got the work ethic or you don't. You see what I'm trying to say? Either you got the want to do this or you don't. I remember there was a kid that I was training that I overlooked him, and he turned out to be a really good boxer because he actually really, really wanted this. I used to train with him when I was an amateur boxer, and I never in my life thought he would end up being that good. He wanted it. He wanted it. He wanted it. He wanted it. I remember guys used to, bring me around him so I could show him how I box. And this was when I was competitive at the time. And he would watch and learn from me. He surpassed me in the amateurs because he wanted it more than I did. And he ended up going further. I ended up not boxing that much because I actually chose a different route, even though I had talent, right? So it ain't that you either got it or you don't. You either put in the work or you don't. Now, of course, you're going to have some people who get to a further level than you in life. And that's just how life is. I can't explain it. I can't tell you why. Why are some guys 6'5" and I'm only 5'11"? Why is this person naturally ripped and I got a freaking diet? And why is some guys naturally smart and other guys got to hit the book so hard to just be average when it comes to IQ? You know what I'm saying? Of course, you're going to have these elements. But I could promise you this. If you get a guy with a high IQ and a guy with an average IQ, but the guy with the average IQ works 10 times harder than the guy with the high IQ, the guy with the average IQ is going to get further than the guy with the higher IQ. I've seen it time and time again where you get the talented fighter, but he doesn't put in the work. And then you get the guy who's Not that good, but he puts in the work. Next thing you know, you're seeing him on television and you're saying, man, I used to beat the hell out of that guy in the gym. Yeah, you used to beat him up in the gym, but you ain't put in the work he did. So if you got it or you don't, that's a myth. But if you got the work ethic or you don't, that's more of the line that we need to go. Guys, go to the website, coachanthonyboxing.com. Make sure you check out the courses, man. I'm telling you right now, either you got it or you don't. And if you don't got it, you're going to regret it, because I'm telling you right now, you're going to dive into my brain. I got Fast Eddie Chambers on there. We got Build You From the Ground Up. We got How to Box on the Inside, How to Box on the Outside, the set traps, counter punch, angles, the 150 combinations, the Philly shell, defensive principles 101, how to box the opposite stance. Yo, what a catalog. And if you already got a course, thank you so much. And you already know, boxing life.